Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing good. Now, today I'm joined by Tom Canton, and we're going to be chatting a bit about the window, the big game tomorrow against Newcastle. But first of all, Tom, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. It's great to have you back on. And yeah, it's going to be good to chat about Arsenal. I mean, it's a very, I think fans are a bit up in the air at the moment because we had a great win against Man City. But I think ultimately the window, I think a lot of us are quite disappointed. What's your thoughts on it? Because obviously there were rumours, there were things there about Watkins, and obviously it didn't happen. Yeah, just how are you feeling about it all right now?
Yeah, I'm naturally disappointed.
Yeah.
Same as I think a lot of Arsenal fans are. And when Mikel Arteta kind of spoke very openly and honestly about his own desire to see Arsenal go into the market and find a forward, I think we all kind of had further
Yeah.
encouragement then that would happen. And sadly, it hasn't for a number of reasons. Arteta, of course, speaking in the press conference today, explaining that he's disappointed that it simply wasn't possible, wasn't feasible, and that they had tried, they'd looked at different avenues, looked at different options, and it just hadn't sadly emerged as something that they could do. And we have to take that at face value as much as we can. Of course, there's going to be theories, there's going to be discussions, there's going to be division, I think, between fans about this. But the reality, the facts are, is that Arsenal did and were active. They did try in the market, they were active, but ultimately weren't able to get the players that they deemed of the requisite standard.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think the feeling at the moment is just a bit disappointing because I think we all know that in our attack this season, it would have been good to bring someone in with, someone a bit different to help us with our, finishing. I know with Saka being out as well, that makes it, a lot more difficult. But yeah, I do agree. Obviously, we have had chances to buy players in, and for you, like for the rest of the season, how do you think we can manage with that? Because I know there are times as well where we do look a bit predictable, I suppose, and we are struggling in that attack. Do you think maybe that we'll just have to switch it up with the players that we have and rotate?
Well, in the presser, one of the journalists mentioned that the Kai Havertz has played
Mm.
22 of the last 23 games of last season. So it's not like he hasn't done it before, and he hasn't been, asked to play these games game after game after game. So I expect Havertz to play indefinitely until there is a time where we feel the need to change things up. Arteta made reference to Sterling, who's played there. He made reference to Trossard, to Martinelli, and even Waneri, of course, who he believes can also play potentially as a centre forward. So there are internal solutions. They're not the solutions that we wanted, but they are what ultimately are available to us. And I think that we have seen this Arsenal side, smash Manchester City with the players that we have available to us. We also
Yeah.
hope that Bukayo Saka is going to be back next month at the earliest, which would be a massive, massive boost to the side. And these young guys that have stepped up have been brilliant. They
Yeah.
really have stepped up fantastically and have delivered Arsenal goals and performances and security and cover. And that's been of a huge benefit. So even though the mood is, I think, low after
Mm.
deadline day, there is still plenty of reason for optimism.
Yeah, definitely. And like you said, with especially Ranieri and Lewis Skelly, they've brought us this like excitement, and I think it's really great to sort of see their progress and how they've come through. And like you said, it's not all doom and gloom. We have got, some great players. I think it's just going to be hard to sort of, like you said, with Havertz, to rely on him to get us the goals we need, and especially not just him, but I suppose like Martinelli as well, Trossard, when I think some of them have lacked a bit of confidence throughout the season. But I think like we just have to take it a game at a time, and we just gotta hope that things can go away this season. And in the summer, do you feel like Arsenal are sort of waiting to go big and buy a striker in the summer? Because for me, I didn't mind Ollie Watkins coming. I know a lot of fans were like, he's getting older now, and I don't really want us to pay too much for him. I mean, I do think he would have definitely improved his side, but I also think in the summer we need to make a big striker, come in. Do you feel like we're maybe saving that for the summer?
Yeah, I think that, obviously that there was the Ollie Watkins situation this winter where there's a player that Arteta likes and the
Yeah.
club like, but are only willing to get if they can get him at the fee that they feel he is reflective of, and his value and his kind of longevity and his
Yeah.
what he's able to produce. And a 29-year-old at 60 million pounds is a huge amount of money. Even
Yeah.
40 million plus add-ons, which is what I understand the bid to have been, is still a lot of money for a 29-year-old. I think someone said to me today, the other day, that had Arsenal have signed him for the money that they offered, it was up there, if not was the highest fee paid between Premier League clubs for a 29-year-old player. So that kind of tells you, how it seemed that we went short, but actually in reality it still would have been a reflective massive fee. I think it does mean that Arsenal's ambition in the summer has to be on that centre forward.
Yeah.
We know that Alexander Isak is a player that Arteta would absolutely love to land, but it would be an incredibly expensive deal for Arsenal to do, and whether that's feasible with Newcastle's season, we'll have to wait and see. If they qualify for the Champions League, I think
Yeah.
it'd be nearly impossible to do. If they don't qualify for Europe at all and continue to slide, they've had a little bit of a dip in form recently. If they don't qualify for the Champions League, maybe that opens the door and there could be a deal to be done there. If not, I think Benjamin Sesko is the other
Yeah.
obvious candidate. RB Leipzig did not want to let him go this winter. They need to qualify for the Champions League for next season, and losing your top striker is not how you do that. So they set an incredibly high price tag on him for the winter, but there is a gentleman's agreement with the player that he can leave in the summer if a team such as Arsenal stump up a certain reasonable figure to take him. So I think if it's not Isak, it would probably be Sesko.
Yeah, and that's why I think if we obviously paid that 60 million for Watkins, that we probably wouldn't have bought in a striker in the summer. And I think it's good that we've not really done any panic buys or just brought someone in for the sake of it, because I feel like we'd rather bring someone in that we know will help us. And I think, like we said, I think the summer's going to be big with the signings. I feel like we do need to make a few signings in the attack, but I think for now we've just got to hope that these players can just stay fit. And yeah, I think they do need to step up. But I think at the moment, we can be happy with how the performance has been going, because like we said, a big win against Man City, our performance was incredible. And obviously tomorrow we've got a very, very big game. How are you feeling about it? Because I know, like we said, we had a really convincing win against Man City. We know we're away from home. It's going to be tough. Do you feel more confident after the win against Man City?
Oh, naturally, yeah. I think
Yeah.
there's plenty of reason to be confident. I think that after the first leg, and I remember being in the stadium and sitting there and just thinking, this is done. Like Arsenal
Yeah.
aren't. The second leg is a formality, almost felt like at that stage, because the idea of going to Newcastle and winning is something that Arsenal have really struggled with. It's a team, that Ian Abrahams in the press conference described to Arteta as a bogey team. Arteta didn't know what that meant, but that's what he that's how
Yeah.
he described it, and explained to him what it meant. And yeah, they've just been a side that we've struggled with. St James's Park's been a very difficult place for us to go to. We've lost in the last two seasons to them. The season before that was that really impressive 2-0 victory there. And we've not been able to replicate that so far. I think that win, though, against City will give the players a huge
Yeah.
amount of confidence. Not only that, but Newcastle have lost their last two home games in the league. They've conceded 6 goals in those 2 home games as well. 4-1 to Bournemouth, 2-1 to Fulham. So that as well is extra encouragement. Joel Linton is also a doubt for the game, which is a big blow for them. And we're in good shape. I know they've had a
Yeah.
day's extra rest compared to us, but I'd take a win and a day's less rest to give you that momentum and belief than have the extra day having lost at the weekend. And I think that will benefit Arsenal more. And I think the belief will be there. And we know we've got 10-day break after this game as well. So there's no need to worry about the fixture that comes after this.
Yeah.
There's nothing to lose in that regard. So Arsenal can just go for it and try to overcome it. But it will be very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, like you said. I think you made a good point about Newcastle being that bogey team in a way, because I mean, we have had good results against them in the past, but I think at the moment, the last few results, we have struggled to play up against them. And listen, I think when you go to their ground, it's a very tough place to be, and I think it's going to be hard. I mean, I feel like you said, that when you've won, you do have that confidence, especially how we played. We scored a lot of goals as well, and I thought thought the performance against Man City was just all around a good performance, but we know it's going to be a different type of test when we go to Newcastle. But I do think, if we were able to get to that final, I do think we'd win that. I feel like it'd be so big for the team because I think we know silverware is always a big talking point, especially sort of the last few seasons, because we have struggled with that. But I really hope we can obviously beat Newcastle. But for you, with like the lineup, would you sort of stick to what the Man City one? Would you make any changes at all?
I think there's two positions that potentially you could make changes. The first one's at left back, and I know that Miles Lewis-Skelly scored against Man City,
Yeah.
but you've got Ricardo Calafiori there. So if you wanted to make a change and bring in some fresher legs, because it only has been 4 days since that game against City,
Yeah.
then Calafiori would be the obvious candidate. He scored at Wolves and had a really big impact in that game away from home. So, he's a good option. And then the other one is Ethan Waneri on the
Yeah.
right-hand side. You can decide to bring him in, and then you can swap either of Martinelli or Trossard. I'd probably be inclined to keep Trossard in because he was excellent against City.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Having that experience on the left with the youth of Martinelli on the right, and then you got the youth of Waneri on the right, and then you got Martinelli coming off the bench. I think is a good dynamic as well. But Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Havertz through the
Yeah.
middle. Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, and Raya, they all, it's just you don't
Yeah.
change those players. So it is just at left back and at right wing where I think you can make those
Yeah,
differences.
yeah, I agree. Because obviously we know Lewis Skelly is amazing, but we also know that he is sort of young, and I
Mm.
think it's important to manage his minutes as well. Because I think he's obviously going to have so much confidence, obviously going into this game, even if he does play. But I think if I was Arteta, I wouldn't really mind if he, got a rest because, like we said, Calafiori as well. He can score a good goal, and yeah, I just feel like he's obviously it's good to have this competition. I think at left back because obviously you'd rather have these options than no options. So I think it's really good. But I definitely think I would like Ranieri to start because obviously he came on straight away, scored that goal. But I think for this we do need to. I think if we're going to win this game, I think we need to get a goal early on, and I feel like Ranieri hopefully will be that guy to help us. And like we said, we do have other players that are definitely going to help us in that game. You mentioned Trossard as well, who I think has been
Mm.
working really hard recently. I know Martinelli's a player that this season, I think I don't really know how to say it, but I think he has been struggling. I mean, I know the end of last season he picked up a few injuries and he struggled then, but do you like worry about his future at Arsenal? I mean, I know these players need to step up now because, we've obviously not brought anyone in. And I do really want Martinelli to get the goals till the end of the season, see what happens. But it just seems at the moment that he's just struggling with his end product of the game.
Yeah, he's never been able to really replicate that season he had in 22,
Mm.
23, 15 goals, I think he got during that season. And he's never been able to kind of get back to those levels. I think the presence of Trossard has obviously had an impact on that to a degree. But even beyond that, he- his decision making in the final third has never kind of improved. He's always been a
Yeah,
player that's kind of run with his head down a lot of the time. That said, when he did run through against Man City, he had the presence of mind to play in Kai Havertz for his goal rather than just try and take the opportunity on himself, and got an assist in that game as a result and had an excellent game, I thought, as well. So with Martinelli, I think, if you're looking at any of the really big players who are under contract, if there was one you thought could be a surprise departure, I think Martinelli has always been maybe that potential candidate for a surprise exit. But there's certainly no indication at the moment that is going to be the case in the
yeah,
summer. He just needs to keep on, performing, and when he does get onto the field, delivering assists, delivering goals, and start to show those marginal improvements that he needs to make in the team in order to win that spot and to keep that spot. When you got a player like Trossard doing as well as he is, that is very, very difficult to do. But in the absence of Bukayo Saka, Arsenal have remained in the title race. They've progressed through to the last 16 in the Champions League. They're in a League Cup semi-final. And Martinelli has had his role to play on that right-hand side as a result.
yeah.
And I think we've seen more from him in this season than we have maybe even in last season.
Yeah, I think as well, like you said, he has been working hard, Martinelli. You can never deny that he will work hard for the team, and he has, like you said, he's able to get those assists and those goals sometimes. I think, like you said, when you've sort of seen how good he can be, and he's not there this season, as how he was a few seasons ago. I think people probably just notice that more. But I think, like you said, I think with Trossard coming in, it probably shaking things up a little bit. But I think, like you said, now really would be a great time for our sort of wingers or attacking players to really make the most of these opportunities, because obviously when Saka's back, we know he'll probably start most games if his injury recovery is good. So I feel like they really need to make the most of it. Another player I wanted to ask you about, obviously Sterling's came in and he's not really had a lot of game time. I mean, personally, I think Nwaneri would start over him anyway, because I just feel like he's more of an impact. I feel like if when Nwaneri starts, he would really, help us with those goals, and we've seen that he can score some great goals.
Mm.
But with Sterling, no, we have seen him play in moments. But do you feel like he's able to help us at this moment, or do you feel like he's maybe just someone you bring on as a substitute? Because I think we've not really seen an awful lot of him, really.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Sterling. I mean, with Sterling, I think we've kind of got what we expected, to be
Yeah,
honest. He's a player who was struggling at Chelsea, that has not been the player that he was when at Manchester City, and Arsenal have brought him in to be an option, to be
yeah,
depth, to be cover, to take up some minutes, to allow some rest for other key starters in the team, and that's what he's done. It's I can't really be too hard on him because he's not doing anything more or less than I thought that we
yeah,
would get from him. I know we did the whole "you're about to see the best of me" comment, but I think that's a bit of a media, just a
yeah,
what you say when you sign for a new club type thing. So I'm not going to hold that against him. But he does need to step up in these games. He's an incredibly experienced figurehead. I think a lot of the Arsenal young players have been on the end of a lot of criticism and scrutiny from certain aspects of the media. In particular, Miles Lewis-Skelly, off the back of his kind of a red card against Wolves, was the target
yeah,
of some pretty horrible words. And having a
mm,
player like Sterling in the team, who's dealt in his own career with some incredibly disparaging kind of words, I think will be of great comfort and experience and support to them young players. So even if Sterling just ends up being a reference point for those players,
yeah.
it's been a minimal investment. He's been a presence in the squad, and that's something to have benefited from.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we do have quite, a lot of young players, and I think obviously he's got a lot of experience, and I think he probably is, a good person to have around the squad. I mean, it is only a loan deal, so it's not really like a long-term thing. And I think we sort of knew that when we signed him, not much could go wrong, because it's only on loan, and if it doesn't work out, he's going back to Chelsea, and if it does work out, then we could think about that. But I think, like I said, he's getting older. He wasn't sort of the player he was during sort of the Euros time when he was really good. So I feel like it would be good if he was able to get more time and maybe help us with those goals. But I feel like there is a player there that could really help us. And when he has played, in all fairness, he hasn't been bad at all. He's had some really good moments. But I
Mm.
think, like you said, it is sort of hard to get in that starting 11 just because of Nwaneri, Saka, Martinelli and Trossard, and I feel like he's probably come in not necessarily to play in the first team, but just to help out when he can. But yeah, I do really hope the attackers can sort of step up and we can definitely have a good season. And before we do round the show up, I just want to get your score predictions for the game tomorrow.
Oh, always,
Gonna be tough, yeah.
always a tough one. I'll go 4-1, and say that we managed to turn it around. So yeah, I'll go for a 4-1 Arsenal win.
Yeah, I mean, I think whatever happens, there's gonna be a lot of goals in this game. I definitely think they're gonna get a lot. I mean,
Mm.
honestly, right now it's so hard, like you said, with these predictions. You just never know. I know Arteta said that there's no sort of injuries at the moment, no latest ones, which
Hmm.
fills you with a bit more positivity. But
Yeah.
I think we could get 3 goals. I definitely think we can do it. I just think it's all about if we can start off well, and if we can get a goal early on, then that will definitely help us. But yeah, a big game for Arsenal tomorrow. But Tom, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really great to have you on.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I hope you guys that are going to watch this back have enjoyed it. Please go and show love to Tom on his channel. Do you want to just tell people as well where they can find you as well?
Yeah, sure. You can find me on the Gooner Talk every morning at 8 a.m., or you can find my written stuff over at football.london.
Yeah, please do check it out, guys. And yeah, I hope you all have enjoyed this, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.